Alright, hopefully this is working. Yeah, so, I went and used 5 orbs, because why not? Didn't get a single red orb, and rolled green, and, well, great, another Minerva. Another Minerva. That sucks butt. Well, not really sucks, it's just kinda... I don't know what I should do with her. Really? What is up with you, recording software? Seriously, like, I've done nothing. Anyways, I don't know what I should do with you. Maybe I should fuse you, or maybe I should keep you for life and death. Who knows? Ah, boy. I don't know what's going on with my recording software right now, but it just fritzed out for a second. Sorry about that. So I had to cut away. And hopefully I can do this without it causing some more issues. And if it continues, I'm just going to figure something else out. And hopefully, get this little issue, you know, nicked in the bud. But anyways, I guess we're going to talk about what's going to be happening. So I believe, if I recall correctly, the last banner, the spring banner, started around the 28th of March, 29th, somewhere around there, like right at the last few days. And then I think like the next week after that, we had Navarre, which was the next Grand Battle Hero. And we're getting into that point where, you know, we're going to be getting probably... hopefully, fingers crossed, the next Grand Battle Hero, which is going to be someone pretty interesting, because I'm fairly sure he's the main antagonist of one game. I could be wrong there, at least. I know he was actually part of 2 games. There was the prequel, and there was the actual game. I believe it was Roy's. I do not recall if that was Binding or Blazing. I do apologize if I'm kind of ignorant to this, but, you know, let me just take a look at Roy real quick. I mean, I'm fairly sure, yeah, he, you know, appears in the Binding Blade.
We can work very well together, don't you?
I did not expect that voice out of you. Anyways, so I guess we'll talk about the character that's coming up in the next big Grand Battle Hero, and if you should, you know, if you should waste your time, if you should put your effort in to try and get it. Waste your time. Still, no. And honestly, he's actually pretty interesting as a character. So, this is Zephiel, and again, before people ask, this is actually, oh boy, I'm just gonna tell you right now, this is a hacked data, you know, this was hacked in, someone managed to get him and put him in their team, of course, and people might be asking, well, how do we know this is the real stats? Because this is the same person who managed to get all the stats for, you know, every other character that has been in a Grand Battle, because the Grand Battle Heroes have been in the data since, I'd say, the beginning. I don't know if it was exactly the beginning, but a lot of them have been in the data for a while. Xander's in there as well, and you can easily look up his stats if you wanted to, but still, we're here to focus on Zephiel here. And, as it is, when it comes to all Grand Battle Heroes, all stats are neutral. So, you know, what you're seeing here is what you get, or should be what you get, unless they somehow throw a curveball, which they just might, who knows. But I'm fairly sure, at least 100%, until Xander is released, that we have the stats that we have here, and that's mostly because, well, he wields his own special weapon. So, I'm gonna just scroll on down while we go through this real quick, shall we? Alright, so, let me just... oh, come on. Alright, there we go. It's gonna be a slow crawl, because for some reason, this just does not work very well. But really, what sets him apart here is, I will mention this real quick. One, he has a pretty high attack considering, but outside of that, he also has really high HP. Insanely high. I think he actually has the highest health out of any unit, potentially, in the game right now. 55 is pretty high. Okay, thanks, game. Come back. Woo. Thought that for a second. Just, jeez. I tap around. Hi, Laszlo. Anyways, sorry about that. And basically, that's a pretty high number. One thing you will notice is that he also has pretty high defenses. His speed is lackluster, and we're gonna have to discuss that in a bit. His resistance is, you know, but that's typical of the heavy armored units here that we have. And of course, you know, that's, I mean, all in all, he has a decent stat spread. He could be pretty interesting, but again, he is an armored unit, meaning that he will have slow movement, about 1. But one thing that really sets him apart is that he has he has a very specific weapon that is only available to him right now, and that's called XX, or XX? I don't really know. I'm just going to poke Lindy real quick.
Okay.
And what XX does is, according to this, it's basically just threat and defense. And it's built into his weapon, which is always nice. It's a good thing to have. It's pretty cool. I definitely think that is something that would be very viable for something like that. It means you don't have to waste that slot for something like, you know, like threat and defense. Hell, you could throw in another threat in there and maybe you'd have more fun. But outside of that, he has, of course, retribution and reprisal. Nothing too crazy. The more health he takes, you know, the more damage he takes, you can, you know, you'll deal it back, things like that. But here is where things get really weird for him as a character. And it could also be potentially good as, you know, fodder for your inheritance skill, because right now we don't have a character who gives life and death at a low ranking. He could potentially be that. That means he has life and death 3. And we're going to get into why this is such a weird thing for him. Mostly because, one, life and death is not the best ability for him to have. It is definitely not a great advantage to him. Speed is not his forte. We've already kind of gone over that. Oh, come on. Really? I don't know what's causing that. It's starting to freak me out a little bit. Still, though, again, life and death, not the best. Definitely not something I would really care for, nor want to really bother with him. Now, that's mostly because of his next abilities that he gets, and that, of course, is, well, Wary Fighter. And if you're familiar with this, this is Effie's ability, where basically it disables follow-up attacks. You know, that's why Effie can't be doubled if you give it to her, at least as long as she has, you know, when she's below certain percentiles, or, I mean, greater than certain percentiles, I believe. And that is definitely something that's really nice to have. And that kind of counteracts and, like, works against life and death. So as a character, he's pretty solid, I think. It's just that if you really wanted to make a really fantastic armored unit out of this, which he definitely can be, he could be Effie in a sense, just red instead of blue. And, you know, he's definitely got a pretty nice weapon. Threat and defense is always cool to have in weapon form. Typically, honestly, the one thing I would say if you were going to use him, when he comes out, would be to remove life and death there, because life and death on a skill like him, for something like him, is not something that would be beneficial for him. You would probably want to remove that and replace it with something a little bit nicer. I don't know I forget what I gave Effie. Oh, good. The sound is lagging. Fantastic. Oh yeah, Death Blow. She has Death Blow. You could easily give him Death Blow. I mean, it's not built in like it is with Effie, but still, it's there. I mean, it's nice to have. I just don't know if you would want to. You know, keep life and death. Not that life and death is bad, it's just it really works against what he's trying to be. And that's something that's really odd. Wary Fighter, however, is fantastic for him. Again, it's fantastic on Effie because, well, it really adds survivability to Effie. It allows her to not have to deal with being doubled up on because her speed is quite slow. And, you know, most units that would, you know, obliterate some of the heavier armored units that have low resistance, she doesn't have to deal with that, at least as long as she can get in there and hopefully kill them. And is not within range, you know, not having to worry about range or anything. Outside of that, though, I mean, he has decent enough defense, he has decent enough attack. I would replace Retribution, of course, with something like Drek. I'm moving this around, in case you can't tell. This is like a slideshow presentation. It's just like, hey guys. I wonder how well that's going to look on the recording, but still. It's just like, welcome to my little slideshow presentation on Zephiel, the murderous king and liberator. He wanted to make friends with dragons, and then he killed a bunch of people. But no, not really. I don't think he... That was actually what he tried to do, though. He was like, he wanted to erase humanity because of dragons and some other nonsense. It was weird. Anyways, maybe, you know, Draconic Aura would probably do fantastic on him, although he'd be pretty slow. Still, though, I mean, his weapon is nice, and in general, he has a nice... You know, nice enough stat spread. Weary Warrior is definitely a great ability to have as a passive. Wary Fighter, I mean. And it's definitely, let me just, and that's what I do when I get bored. All in all, if he comes out exactly like this, which there's a high chance he will, because, you know, all the other stats are, I'm going to be really, really thankful when, you know, we get into the next Grand Battle Heroes, and after Xander, and hopefully we don't, you know, they have the know-how to actually hide this stuff from us, because... yeah, I mean, the fact that these were in the data already is kind of dumb. But anyways, guess that's what happens when you develop a game that you plan ahead, of course. So still, as a unit, he looks like he's going to be interesting. And he's going to be a Red Sword Effie in a sense. And if you can replace that Life and Death maybe with something like Death Blow, he will definitely be the Red Effie. You could get Armor Emblem going, guys. I mean, you could probably give him one of the, you know, just pair him up with Effie, maybe Drog, and whoever else there that you could think of, and yeah, that'll be good. Anyways, I'm gonna be looking at my next thing to go on. I'm gonna be just turning that off because right now, that's pretty much all I have to talk about. I'm tired, really, really tired. I'm gonna have a pretty serious update video going up soon for those who are interested in the channel and interested in what's going to be happening with content. For now, though, I'm just going to look at my Donalds and think about what I can do with you. I'm going to talk to you guys about the D Squad next time, and I'm not referring to it like that ever again because that was a bad idea and bad naming scheme. See you soon.